You know, our planet is absolutely buzzing with life. I mean, it's an almost overwhelming variety, from the deepest parts of the ocean to the highest mountain peaks. How in the world do we make sense of it all? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the really elegant system that scientists created to bring some order to the beautiful chaos of the natural world.
It's a huge question, isn't it? I want you to imagine a library with millions of books, but with no system at all. No alphabetization, no categories, nothing. Just massive stacks of books piled to the ceiling. That's basically the challenge biologists faced. Pure chaos. So how did they manage to create a catalog for life itself?
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things up by really trying to grasp the sheer scale of the challenge. Then we'll dive into the science that actually creates that order from the chaos. We're going to crack the code of how everything gets its own unique name, explore what I like to call life's grand filing system, peek into the biologist's toolkit, and finally bring it all home and talk about why this whole system actually matters to every single one of us.
First up, let's talk about the problem of scale. Because when we say there's a lot of life on Earth, the numbers are, well, they're kind of mind-boggling. The word for all this is biodiversity, and it's so much more than just a scientific term. It's this vibrant, incredibly complex tapestry of all living things, from microbes you literally can't even see, all the way up to the blue whale, which is the largest animal that has ever lived. This is the amazing diversity we need to get a handle on. So how do you tame that beautiful chaos? Well, you create a whole science for it. Let's get into taxonomy, the discipline that was designed specifically to bring some order to the living world.
And yup, that science is called taxonomy. The term was first proposed by A.P. de Candolle, and it's basically the official process of identifying, naming, and classifying every single life form. It's pretty much the bedrock of modern biology.
You know, the whole process is incredibly logical. It all starts with identification. You got to recognize exactly what you're looking at based on its features. Next up is nomenclature. That's just a fancy word for giving it a unique scientific name. And finally, there's classification, figuring out where it fits in the grand scheme of things by grouping it with its relatives.
Okay, let's zoom in on that second step, the naming part. Because one brilliantly simple idea for how to name things came along and completely revolutionized biology forever.
So, the hero of this part of our story is a guy named Carolus Linnaeus. He came up with a system called binomial nomenclature. Now, binomial literally just means two names. It's like giving every single organism a first name and a last name, which makes it instantly recognizable to any scientist anywhere on the globe. So simple, but so powerful.
Let's see it in action with something familiar, like a mango. Its scientific name is Mangifera indica. The first part, Mangifera, is the genus. That's kind of like its family name. The second part, indica, is the species, its specific individual name. See? It's that straightforward, but it is understood by scientists everywhere.
Now, to keep this whole system consistent around the world, there are a few simple rules of the game. First, the names are in Latin. Why? Because it's a dead language, which means it doesn't change over time, no confusion. Second, the genus always starts with a capital letter, but the species name starts with a lowercase letter. And finally, when you print them, they're always in italics, so they just pop right off the page. These little rules are what create a truly universal language for science.
Okay, so every organism has its own unique two-part name. Cool. But how do all those names fit together? Well, that brings us to the final step of taxonomy, classification. I like to think of it as life's grand filing system.
This entire filing system is built on one single core idea, the species. It's the most basic unit we have. It's a group of organisms, like the lion, Pantheroleo, that can interbreed with each other and have fertile babies. This is our foundational building block. Everything starts here.
And from that foundation, we build our way up. So related species, like lions and tigers, they get grouped together into a genus, in this case Panthera. Then related genera get grouped into a family, families get grouped into an order, and so on, all the way up to kingdom. With every step you take up that ladder, the group gets bigger and more inclusive. It's like zooming out on a giant family tree.
So what does this cosmic address look like for us, Homo sapiens? Well, here it is. We belong to the animal kingdom. We're in the phylum Chordata because we have a backbone, the class Mammalia because we're mammals, the order Primates, and you can follow it all the way down to our unique species name. This chart is literally our precise location in the massive tree of life.
This whole system is fantastic in theory, right? But how do scientists actually use it when they're out in the field or in the lab?
Well, they've got a specific set of tools that help them out.
These are the taxonomists' must-have tools, and you can think of them as different kinds of libraries for life. You've got libraries of preserved things, like herbaria for plants and museums for animals. And then you have libraries of living things, like botanical gardens and zoos. There are even guidebooks called keys that help scientists identify organisms right there in the wild.
So, for example, a herbarium is this incredible library of pressed and dried plants, where every single sheet is a vital piece of data. A museum does pretty much the same thing, but for animals. They preserve everything from tiny insects in jars to gigantic dinosaur skeletons. Both of them are absolutely invaluable reference libraries for life.
Okay, so we've seen the what and the how. But now let's zoom all the way out and ask the most important question. So what? Why does this super detailed system of classification actually matter in the real world?
Oh, it is massively important. This system is what turns that chaotic library into an ordered one. It allows us to build the evolutionary tree of life, connecting the past to the present. And maybe the most critical part, it creates a universal language. Because of this system, a scientist in Brazil and a scientist in Japan can talk about the exact same organism with zero confusion. It's the absolute foundation of global biological teamwork.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. The ultimate goal here, and this is something Linnaeus himself understood centuries ago, isn't just about sticking labels on things. It's about uncovering the deep, interconnected story of all life on Earth. It's about figuring out who is related to whom and how we all got here in the first place.
And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. This incredible map of life doesn't just show us all our differences, it reveals our profound connections to every other living thing on this planet. It tells us we're all part of one immense, interconnected story. And the real question is, once you know your place in that story, how does that change the way you see the world?